if you do not know Natasha, you are going to want to know her a whole lot after tonight's program. Well, we go back, way back. Would have been the 1990s, mid 90s that we met each other in graduate school. Most of the time that we had together, we were mostly in classes, acting classes. And I have to say, even back then, I always admired you for your talents. You were very fearless and just a very good sense of self. And I've just got to know you again these last few years online, watching some of your performances. And the thing that stands out for me is just a new level of confidence, professionalism that you're a star, right? And so that's why I was joking. There's no one name Natasha yet, is there? Because for me,
no, not yet. No.
Well,
no
here you are.
Okay.
So thank you, first off, for joining us, spending a little bit of time with us. I think your journey as an artist is particularly interesting, and just very thankful that you're here to share it with us tonight.
Thank you for having me and asking me. It's great. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, but you grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina. That's it. And about 2 hours from the ocean. Now, what is in Fayetteville? What did you grow up with? What makes
I grew up with farmland, like tobacco and corn. But also in Fayetteville is right beside it is Fort Bragg, which is a military base. Pope Air Force Base is also in Fayetteville. And I grew up in the country on a farm with my uncle had pigs and cows and food and that's it. I grew up on a dirt road.
Pigs and cows. All right.
Yeah. Very smelly pigs. Yes.
So you come from very, humble origins.
I do.
Here.
Do. Yeah.
But in touch with the land.
Yes.
I love that.
I was in touch with the land and the trees. I would climb trees a lot to get up and daydream on the branches and want to get off the farm and not work the farm.
I get it.
It was hard, very hard work, but yes.
Oh, so you had chores.
Oh yes, I had chores. My uncle Mayfield, actually, I hope people don't get upset, but we had like pig pickings, or you would kill a pig at a certain time and they would take the meat and take it places. And I was on sausage, like, you put the meat into this little grinder thing and push it down and turn this crank, and there was a skin on the end of it, and the sausage would come out and make itself and pinch itself off. It was, So yeah,
so you did the whole thing. Okay, so you know how to do work. You know how to do hard work.
Oh my God, yes. That's why I tried to stay in the trees as much as possible until it was time to leave and go sing and be in a program or do stuff at school. So I basically just made myself busy.
That kind of, so I mean, that kind of work sure teaches you discipline, and you understand hard work and all of that. But then, when is the time where you start training? When's the time where you start singing? Where's the time where you start finding that?
I started singing actually in church. We had a little tiny tot choir, and I must have started singing around 3, like almost as soon as I could talk. With the kids, just singing, not for any, just at church. And I think my first production outside of church was in what was then called the Fayetteville Little Theater. And I was 13, and I had a vice principal who, I don't know if he saw something in me or he just saw an audition. I have no idea, but he invited me to go audition, and my parents took me down and we auditioned, and I was in a play called, it was a show called Razzle Dazzle. And it was really just singing and wearing clothes from Belk, the local Belk. They donated the clothes and people would get to sort of model them and sing songs. And it was, I was in heaven at 13. I didn't realize how spectacular I felt on the stage, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing how that happens, right? You know, when
Yeah.
if you're the person and you get up there,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
if this is for
Where
you.
I want to sleep here. They're like, you will, because we rehearse all the time. But yeah.
Yeah, and I knew too. I remember, kind of the same thing. You get the
Mhm.
people that are like, are they feeling what I'm feeling?
Yeah.
So you knew. And so then did you pursue it? Did you say, this is what I want to do, and now I'm seeking it out? Or was it fate? How did that?
You know what? I kind of knew even earlier than that I wanted to entertain, like sitting at home, but I just didn't know what it was. Because I wanted to be on television because that's all I knew at the time. Because my parents, like
Ah,
I would sit, after dinner or whatever, and watch television and laugh with my family. And I was like, I want to be up there with people sitting out here watching me. So I knew that I wanted to entertain. I just had no idea what theater was. I only knew the
ah,
television, and at 13 to actually be able to walk into a space and get on the stage and have people right in front of me that I could sweat on and spit on
yeah.
was just a phenomena to me that I had no idea even existed. And
Mm-mm. Oh, so you didn't grow up like going to theater or seeing shows or
I
anything
didn't.
like
I
that?
saw my first Broadway show in high school on a high school trip. We came to New York on an FHA trip, I believe it was, and it's a Lily Tomlin show, and something about the universe. That was my first Broadway show, and I was in high school, and but it was like she was a one woman show, so it still wasn't like all the spectacle and stuff like
Sure,
that.
sure.
And
But it's
Sweet
still a lot of
Charity,
people
yes,
in
a
one
lot of people
space staring at one
captivated.
person.
Exactly, yeah. So I was like, okay, okay. And across the street was Sweet Charity. I remember Debbie Allen because I used to watch her on Fame, and she was starring in this show across. And I was like, we need to go over there. We need to see this.
Yeah.
We go tomorrow and all that. So, but I remember that. That was my first. So no, I did not grow up. After I turned 13 and was in that show, then we started going to the Fayetteville Little Theater, which then became the Cape Fear Regional Theater. And
Mm.
but yeah, so no, I didn't grow up with it, but I acquired it and loved it and just sort of.
So then you clearly got the spark,
Oh
clearly
yeah,
got the exposure. You knew it was out there.
yeah.
Um, how do you get to graduate school?
Ah,
Because that's when I started knowing.
yes, yes, yes. Graduate school. Well, I went to North Carolina A&T for undergrad, and I actually majored in math, education, and theater arts. I had a double major,
Mm.
and was going to teach math. And then I think my school went to something ACTF or a bunch of letters. I've forgotten what it stands for. But Michigan State was there, and they were like, "Hey, come to grad school, and we'll give you a little bit of a stipend." And da 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 da. And I was like, "Okay," and and I was like, "Oh, okay, all right." And I did. So I didn't know if I was ready to go to New York or ready to go. I wasn't ready to go to California or New York. So I was just like, okay, well, let's just go to
Exploring.
school. I know what this is. I know what this school thing is.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that's what I did. And
And
I came
so
to New York.
you,
I came to Michigan State just because they asked. I don't
and
know. So I ended up going.
I get it. I same. I understand.
Yeah,
You get
yeah,
offers to things. It's like, which one? Like, oh, these guys will pay me.
right.
Learn to act.
Not ready to do that yet. So let me just give myself a little more time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. I get it. And so you're there, and we were talking, and you
Mhm.
had a really interesting story, which I had no idea
No
about.
idea.
That
You know what I thought
I'd
about
love for you to
telling
share.
you that? I thought about even more to that story
Mm-mm.
yesterday or today when I was thinking about it because a friend of mine named Robert White. Did you know Robert White? He graduated, maybe not because he graduated a year before me. And I say graduated loosely because he did not do 6 shows. So he did not receive the sheepskin. Um, but I was talking to Michael earlier about my time at Michigan State, which was challenging. It was fun, but it was challenging. We had in grad school, we had to do 6 roles. before we up to complete. That was part of the, you had to write a dissertation kind of thing too and do these projects, but you had to perform in 6 shows. But I was having anxiety because I wasn't being cast in the shows. And they were picking shows that they didn't want to cast me in, basically. And so it was difficult for any person of color, I think, to get those 6 credits. Robert, like I was saying, who's actually in New York now, but he's a photographer now. He does headshots and stuff. He does not perform anymore. But he didn't get his 6 shows and left after the 3rd year anyway. And I just thought, wow, I can't imagine putting this time in and doing this work and learning all this stuff and not getting the degree. That just really wasn't an option for me. So after the 2nd year of looking at the season and figuring out, hey, they're not going to cast me. They're not going to cast me in this. And so let me just figure out how I can get these. And then I talked to, I think it was Shuttler at the time, asked about, do I have to have these? If I don't, what happens if I never get cast? And Robert, that happened to him. And they were like, oh, well, he didn't do something else. And I was like, yeah, okay. I don't know if that's true. And so they said, no, you got to have the 6 roles. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And I was the only one, I think, worried about it. So what happened was a group called Mawendo formed on campus. And there was actually some undergrad, some African-American undergrad people who formed this group because they weren't getting any roles either. I think when you go to a school that has a undergrad that has a grad school, naturally you assume, or I would assume, that the grad students would be the most people on stage. If there's an acting program or whatever, you would think they would be utilizing those people that are preparing to go out into the profession.
Sure.
So I, as an undergrad, I don't know that it would have even dawned on me to try to start something, but I guess they recognized that they weren't getting any opportunity to shine or to learn, to learn.
Yeah. That's how you learn, right? You do these.
And it was my saving grace because then I could invite the instructors to come to those shows and see me, and they accepted those as my 6 credits. There was also a community college I was going to do Once on This Island there, and my professors agreed to count that as one of my shows as well. So I ended up getting my 6 credits, but I only did 2 shows at Michigan State, and one of them was on West Side Story and Our Town.
Yes, we did those together.
Yeah, while I was at Michigan State. So it was only 2 of the 6 that I had to have.
Yeah.
The other 4 were somewhere else,
Well, and that was in the 90s, right? So you've lived through this kind of ridiculousness, and we and as we were talking, I think there's been a great awakening and acknowledgement that this has been going on for some time, and even our company has done what we needed to, which was kind of acknowledge that there was a racist background in works and practices, and we've since adopted a lot of policies that we've been putting into place for the last months to be part of the change. And so that story, the fact that being in school at that time, as someone who didn't have to think it, the shows were written for people like me. So it's like, it never even occurred to me. Right. And now it's so clear, it's like, so I hope we can be part of the solution. I
think that's happening for a lot of people, because it was
I think so.
That you didn't really talk about, I asked the professor, hey, well, what happens if you don't cast me? And I knew that it was on me to figure out, what I'm going to do, because I wasn't prepared I wasn't going to leave without the paper. It wasn't substantial. Well, I completed my 3 years and I did my coursework and I can't prove it. That wasn't an option for me. Yeah. But I think even the professors, at me bringing up and asking the question, it was just not something that they felt like they had to address. It was just, hey, you'll get cast. And I don't think it was an intentional kind of
course not,
omission. It was just what people were used to doing,
Yeah.
had been doing, for so long that it just was normal. And
Yes.
it was normal for African Americans as well, it's just normal. So you do what you have to do to get what you need.
So then, like, you took the initiative.
Mm-hmm.
You took your own future into your own hands. You made it happen within that kind of broken system. You still found a way to pursue through it.
But I don't know that I would have had Mwindo had the undergraduates not formed that theater company. I mean, I would have gotten 1 or 2 more shows, but I wouldn't have had 6 without them, because they sort of provided a platform that I had. I wouldn't have known even where to start unless I would have just put on my own show, and I don't know that would have counted as the production. So I certainly had to have this village to help create a space for me to it's really quite remarkable that it was just sort of fell into place that way, that they and I could jump in.
And then of course you graduate from that, and then was that then, would you say, kind of what you saw over the next years as you try to get work?
I mean, some of it was that. Certainly some of it was that. A lot of it probably was that. But because my eyes were, this is just what it is, I just went to work. And I look at, I got to New York and I started getting this backstage, and I would look for what people were looking for. I started out just going to things that said I'm looking for a Black woman, a Black full-figured Mother Earth, blah, 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 whatever words they were trying to use to describe someone who I felt like I fit into that box.
Yeah.
And then I met a young lady named Amy Griffin, who was about 5'2". I hope she's not watching and she's taller than that. But anyway, redhead, very pale skin, little white woman who was like, I do every audition. I go to Ain't Misbehaving. I can do it. I can do it. And she
that's the attitude, right?
So I was like, oh yeah, I can do it. I'm going to everything too. So then I started going to everything. Now I've only booked maybe 2 out of 10, which is a good ratio.
That's actually not bad.
Of things that weren't necessarily asking for African American people.
Sure.
Amy's sort of mantra of I can do it, and she never booked an Ain't Misbehaving, I must say, but she would go to things that didn't necessarily ask for her to go. So
good for her.
What I found was I would in shows that were traditionally white shows, I could get cast, but I wouldn't get parts. Like I'd be someone to sing or fill in or to those kinds of things, or to move scenery at times, which was also a kind of a racist kind of concept. But at the time, I just was happy for the work and didn't understand really the optics and the history and all of those things. When I first got there, I just wanted to work,
I get it. And so I love Amy's pitch there.
Me too.
You just got to work. You go for everything.
Yeah.
So it paid off though, right? So then you were cast as Sofia, right, in The Color Purple.
Sofia was my Broadway debut. Prior to that, I was in like regional theaters all over the place, and tours and different things. Just really grinding and doing whatever I could to build a resume, to understand the craft, to being able to to produce whatever I was asked to produce.
Yes, I understand that. Yeah.
Being a great student, learning as much as I could wherever I could. So yeah, my Broadway debut was in 2006 with The Color Purple, the original one, not the one that just happened. And I played Sofia, and it was an extraordinary, just like I imagined it. The first show after moving to New York, I saw was Ragtime. And I remember, I'm saying that because the feelings were all the same for me. I saw Ragtime as an audience member, and at intermission, I went down into the basement because that's where the phone booths were. They had these not phone booths, but phone, I don't even know what you call them anymore. They're the Payphones. Ah, I remember. They had payphones in the basement of the theater. So at intermission, I went down to the payphone because we didn't have. I don't know if we didn't have cell phones or I just didn't have one. I don't know. But
Yeah.
I called my mother and I was like, "This is what I want to do." You know, oh my God, I'm in this theater, blah blah blah. And I had that same kind of feeling and energy my opening night. Ooh, wow, of Color Purple. It was
Yeah.
extraordinary, and all of that was just why I do this. I feel what I hope people feel,
Yeah.
when they come. So yeah.
So, so what happens when, because I've other people I know that, you suddenly, you get cast in that one show and now you're part of this group. It's like once you're in the door.
Well, I definitely think that's the belief. We get one show and you're just going to move from show to show, and that's certainly the hope.
But you got to do the work, is that right?
Yeah, you got to do the work, and you got to be a person that they don't mind asking back. Being in Color Purple was extraordinary for me as a person. It was everything I dreamed about being. I got like 2 or 3 openings because I had my opening, and I had about a month later, maybe 2 months, I'm not sure how long after, Fantasia Barrino joined our cast. And so with her, it was all this press and stuff. And so then I got a star kind of opening. It wasn't my opening, but it was hers, and I got to participate. Then there was an opening night party, and there was all this stuff when she came. So then there was like, oh my God, and then there was people sleeping outside the theater at night to get tickets the next day. And it was just, I don't know, I was just so pumped and so energized, and it was a connection maker for me in terms of being in that show and being on Broadway. And it didn't guarantee me any other shows, but it did. I've made friends in that company that I still have today, and which gave me a village and a support system in New York. If I was not working and needed to have lunch or dinner or something, there was always somebody that I created a relationship with that I could call on.
I think that's what I meant is that
yeah.
is really, isn't that it?
Yeah,
Because it can be a city so filled with people, but you can feel awfully alone.
Yes.
Yeah,
definitely. Especially when the phone is not ringing. Because every job ends. And to just understand that in order to keep this going, I've got to keep depositing in myself and keep giving it, to continue to receive. So that's it.
No, I get it. And so then you're doing this, and you've actually done several shows.
Yes.
Since then, I know you Chicago for a long time, Waitress.
I'm actually in Chicago now, and when we return, we're going back to Chicago. Whether it's 2 years or whenever it is. My last show that I was actually working on when everything was shut down was, I was in Chicago, but they have the same producer, so they asked me to go to London and do Waitress. And then I was going to come back to Chicago, but then we had to shut down, and so I didn't get to come back right away. So we'll be back at that. But yeah, I've done Waitress. I was in the Gershwins Porgy and Bess, A Night with Janis Joplin, and there's something else, but I don't remember.
So many, they just kind of forget them,
I saw a Waitress. No, it's not that. It's not so many. So I think
I see people.
Oh, yay. November 2017. You know what? Wow. I was not in on November 2nd, 2017. I wasn't in Waitress. My debut was not debut. Is that, you can still call it debut? Yeah. Sure. I debuted in Waitress November 20th or 22nd, somewhere around in there. And I know that because my mother passed November the 17th,
Oh,
2017. And I wow, went home obviously to I had to go home a couple days before my opening, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna have it because I thought she was just sick and she passed, and we were supposed to come back that Tuesday anyway. And so we came back because my husband had to get stuff, and my mother passed while I was there. And I did my opening, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do this opening, but then I'm leaving again to go to the funeral to set up everything. And that night, the 22nd when it was, there was a man in the audience who came to this receiving line, and I was coming out the door, and I wasn't really going to sign, but I said, well, let me just sign because I'm going to go away. And he said to me, hey, I saw you. You were great. I met you in Boston 4 years ago or something like that, he said. And you were, great tonight. You were great that night. And I just want to thank you, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, no, he didn't tell me the Boston thing yet. He says, you were great. I love your work and blah, blah, blah. So I'm thinking, okay, dude, this is my first night here. You're thinking this is someone else. You saw the last person, blah, blah, blah. So I went on down the line and was signing autographs. He comes to the end or comes around again. He said, yeah, because I saw you in Boston and you had you and your mom were there. And I was just like, ah. And because I remember the concert because it was like the first time I traveled with my mom. My mother had dementia. And so it was the first time I traveled with her without my father, without anybody else, by ourselves once dementia had started. So I was doing a concert in Boston and I announced to the audience, I was like, hey guys, this is my mom sitting right here. And I had her wave. I said, my mom's, gets a little confused sometimes and I don't want her to wander off. And if she does, I announced this at the concert. So this is my first time having her. Don't know what's going to happen. She might get up and walk out. If she does, if somebody does,
someone want to grab her and just kind of
just wrangle her. I was like, wave your hand, mama, wave your hand. She waved, just smiling, like she didn't even hear me. But so I was announcing to the audience for them to look out for my mother. And this man recanted and recalled this story to me.
You remember that?
And
I mean, how could you not?
Oh my God. Yes, I remember. It was my opening night. It was like 5 years prior to that. And she had passed like 3 days before that.
My God.
And it was almost like, for me, I took it as her telling me, hey, you are right where you're supposed to be. It's okay. Because he was like, yeah, your mom was confused and you wanted people to look out for her. And I was like, yeah, you're not confused anymore. It's okay. And I'm supposed to be right here. It was extraordinary, that particular moment. So when I finished signing autographs, I got back in the car and we drove back down south.
Oh my, that is an amazing story. But man, I'm so proud that you did that just at the concert. I mean, that is authentic and true and wonderful. And you brought your audience with you, and that's really wonderful.
Yeah.
And he remembers it. He remembered,
like, Mom was there, and I was like, oh, my mama just said. I burst out crying, but I was like, no, thank you for telling me the story. So, but it was and I will always remember it. I will always remember that. I'll remember that night, and I will definitely always remember.
So then you did one of your albums is the reimagined Broadway tunes, and you titled it, For My Mother, and so I'm assuming I don't really need to ask you much about that we kind of know why.
Yeah, we did that. I did that. And those songs come from shows we either went to see together or songs she used to sing to me or all those kinds of things, except for 2 songs. There's 2 songs on there that came from the producers of the album. One was called Teach Me to Love, and the other one was, I can't remember the second one.
I have it here somewhere. Yeah, because I was really interested. Yeah, my own morning. Yeah, I was interested to know
where those songs, because they're so random.
There's a diverse group, and you have a very, I mean, you can sing anything, right? I've heard you sing all different kind of styles. So I got this, and I was like, okay, like this is what a diverse group of songs, right?
Yeah, most of them came from my mom, except for, like I said, those 2. One of the producers picked one, and the other guy picked one. And so then I was like, oh, okay, sure, I don't care. I'm always like, I can do it. I got Amy. So that's what we did. We just put those songs together and sort of a tribute to her. And I don't know, it turned out to be nice, very nice. Although I don't Well, this is crazy. I don't know if you want to talk about this.
Oh
So
boy,
there was two producers, and one of them was like the money guy, one of them was the technical guy, and the
of
technical
course.
guy actually kind of passed away prior to
Oh,
signing paperwork and anything. So that album is out there, but I don't have it. Like if
oh,
you buy it, I don't get that. I
that
don't
sounds
know where that goes unless you buy it.
terrible.
I do have some copies. Yeah, it was kind of bad. It was rough for a while because I was like, this is for my mother, you know.
And I
But,
just posted it in the chat so people can go take a listen to it. And now
oh
I
really?
would, if
Oh,
people, if you go ahead and buy it, and please do at least take a listen
mm.
to it.
Oh
You
yeah,
might want
yeah.
to
Listen to it. How about
donate to one of NaTasha's charities or
I
something.
have, but or you can buy. You should buy it from me. I have it. If you want to buy it, you can buy it from me. But if you buy it,
There you go.
I would love to know because they told me that they weren't selling it. The man died. The producer died. The one that he died before we signed stuff, and and then somebody bought his company, so it just sort of and all the stuff rolled
Went into
in.
limbo.
It's
Yeah.
crazy. Who knew that could happen? But it can happen. So all you artists out there, protect yourselves.
Yes, you
That's
do.
not.
I wanted to ask you though, how did the duet with Norm Lewis come about? How did
Ah,
that happen?
Norm and I have been friends for a long time. Norm,
Mm.
oh my God, he's such a crazy sweet guy. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
we did our first show was Dessa Rose together at Lincoln Center, and then we did something else. I don't know. We did Showboat together, and we did Porgy and Bess, and
Mm-mm.
I think we did a concert, a ragtime concert. I basically just called him and asked him that. I was like, my mother and my aunt actually came to see our West Side Story in Michigan. And she really just loved that song. And I do too. I do too. So
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, okay, what can I sing with Noam? What can I do it? So it just came about. I asked him and he was like, yes. And I was like, really? I was like, oh, what I gotta pay you? Because he's like famous and stuff. And he was like, girl. And so he
Oh,
came and we did it. It was beautiful and easy and he just sang and went away. We're actually working together now in a
mm.
group called Black Theater United, which is a group that formed um, really after the George Floyd murder, and
Yeah, yeah.
just to help sort of do what we can to help stamp out and work on the inequities in our business and in our country, and so I get to see Norm generally every Sunday night online, and we still work kind of closely together. But yeah, he's a great, great guy. Great guy.
I love to hear that
Yeah.
because we all love him as well. And it's
Yes.
nice when, the people you look up to are actually nice people
Isn't that
too.
nice?
So,
Isn't that nice? It's awful when they're not.
I also I should post this also in here because this really, I love. People don't watch it now, watch it later. But back in June, you, uh, Jason Robert Brown had shared this performance you had done of his song Hope. And you
Yes.
playing there. And, I remember him posting that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
And I remember it coming up, and you're already in tears
yes. That
before you
that
even start
is,
singing. And that just was like right away, I was there with you.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So I
Yes.
wanted to ask you about that moment.
Oh, that moment. Okay, so my mother passed. I was opening, I did Waitress.
Yeah.
This show was the first time, it was probably 2 months after she passed, but it was the first time I had done a show without her on the planet, in this, alive.
Uh,
That wasn't my theater show. It wasn't what I was doing prior to. So it was my first time. And when I sat down, the show was called something about black women saving the planet or something. And I just sat in the chair and 2 seconds, I was just like, my mom's not gonna see me do any like cabarets and stuff anymore. And it was just all about her.
mm,
Um, and that was like what 2 years ago or 3 years ago, almost 3 years ago now. But and it was so fitting for me at the moment, but certainly her giving me hope to just keep doing what you're doing is fine. And I've taught you this is what happened. I'm sorry that this is all I'm talking about my mom all the time, but you know, she taught me to live without her, basically. You know, she's preparing us. Hopefully, and that's what I'm trying to do with my children is to
I
prepare
was
them.
gonna. You're a mom. You know. You get it. That's what you're
Yeah,
doing.
to be able to figure it out. You know,
You can't
so
expect anything back. You're
yeah,
just training them to go do
yeah.
what they do, and you just hope you did a
Yeah,
good job,
that they
right?
get some of it. So, but yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so that moment, while he wrote that song after the 2016 election, he wrote it like the next day, um, sort of
Mm,
about the surprise of waking up because he said something about going to bed not knowing, you know, thinking Hillary was going to win, but you know, he woke up and found some different news and just he wrote that song then. So for
mm,
him, it was that. And for me, it was how to hold on to everything being different because everything was different, you know, in my life.
yeah.
So, and then it totally fit 2020 as well. So, and I think that's what great music does, and hopefully great
Yeah.
performances do. But yeah,
Well,
that's
I
what
encourage everyone to, afterwar's take a
hope.
take a listen to that. Take a listen to
Yeah.
that. You bring a tissue.
That's it.
Uh, I have to ask you. You had good news that you got
Yes,
today.
today I booked a movie called
Congratulations.
Alice. Thank you. Um, I I haven't had a whole lot of auditions during this pandemic, but they've started in the last 2 weeks, I guess. I've had a couple, and so I got the call today, yesterday actually, that I was gonna get an offer, and I got it today. So yeah, I'm going to be going to Charleston, no, Savannah, Georgia.
Savannah.
I keep saying South Carolina, and I don't know why. Savannah, Georgia, um, in about 2 weeks, and film for about a month, and I don't know who knows when it's coming out, but it's starring Common and Kiki Palmer, and yeah, it's a feature film, but depending on when it's done, if it's in the theater or in the Netflix or something,
Sure. Yeah.
who knows anymore?
So how are these auditions working now? Like, is it that you're
All
doing?
like self tapes, and
Mm,
that's the only kind I've had, so I haven't been anywhere to do anything, but had a
yeah.
couple self tapes and just having to learn how to work the computer and the light and the phone and all that and send it in. So it's a new animal. Um,
All
reinventing yourself.
all the tech stuff that you have to learn too to get all this done, huh? But you pulled
Yes.
it off, huh?
Yes. And I am so not computer savvy either, but you know, I'm getting there and I gotta be. So now I am.
So there's many more things I can ask you about. But I thought I would give a chance, see if there's any questions that people have
Okay.
in our audience here. Anyone have
But
anything in chat or?
yeah, we did have one in the chat. Chris asked, Natasha, you're phenomenal. I was fortunate enough to see you in Xanadu in Dallas and Porgy and Bess on Broadway. Can you talk about how it feels to hop from one show to another to another?
Mm. Wow, wow, wow. You know what? People have said that to me. That you are, and I guess I am. I'm certainly employed a lot. Certainly, been fortunate, but there's certainly been some downtimes too. But for some reason, people think I go from show to show to show, and maybe it's because I stay in a show a long time. I'm not really sure,
Mm,
but it is great to be able to be marketable, I guess, enough or whatever, because there's certainly no shortage of talent up here. But I've been blessed and fortunate enough to be able to move to shows with very little downtime. But there are some downtime, but it really is dreadful when you have it. Uh, and I'm just, I don't know what it means to move from show to show is that I just constantly try to be grateful because I know it can change at any time, and it could have just been the flick my earrings. They my little earrings more than the next person. I don't know, but I just
do
sort
like
of
your
try not to-
earrings.
oh, thank you, thank you. I try not to take it really. Try not to take it personal. I go into each audition, um, working at the audition, working at being a better auditioner, um, as if that's the goal, and then the job is sort of the icing or the gravy, if you will. Um, it is extraordinary to be employed at any time, especially during this particular season that we're in. But I just use it as a gratitude board. Everything is about being grateful, because they didn't have to cast me. But when they do, I try to celebrate and be in that space of confidence all the time. And that's really what Michael, Color Purple casting, or that first Broadway show, did for me. Was
I think so.
instill a level of confidence in me that I had to present each time. And that's what I hope most performers will grasp and find, is their confidence base. Because once you walk in the room with that, it just sets you up totally different from anybody else.
And that's what I get when I see you now. It's like that you have, that you have. That is the thing.
No,
That's the word that I use for him. And you've worked with Forrest Whitaker. You've worked with Brandy and Katharine McPhee, I believe, and Jordin Sparks, and the Wiz. I know you. I think you were the understudy. You said for two of them.
I was an understudy, and I'm actually, this movie that I'm in is starring Common and Keke Palmer, and I met Common at the Wiz when I did the Wiz. But yes, I understudied Queen Latifah and Uzo Aduba. And for a minute, I was going to order.
She's had quite a career too.
Yeah. Wonderful career. But yeah, so that was in the Wiz, the live TV version thingy.
Yeah. Any other questions that people have, Sarah?
You bet. Anita, between musical theater and cabaret, which do you prefer?
Ooh. I love them both, obviously, but I think cabaret is, because it's just like this, the more intimate kind of one-on-one, and I can tell people to watch out for my mama, or, just sort of be myself, make a joke here or two, and take my shoes off if I want, and sort of be myself and share what I have in a more intimate way in cabaret. Obviously, if I'm doing a musical theater, I'm playing a character that someone wrote, and certainly I'm bringing elements of myself to that, but it's a little different than just being a cabaret and songs that I pick. And sometimes there's a theme, but I'm singing basically what I want to sing. So that brings me a lot of joy. Yeah.
I bet. So you enjoy that because you get to bring out a lot of yourself in the cabarets. As for musicals, though, what is the role that you haven't done that you're just meant to play, that all they have to do? Like, after hearing your album, I think there's a Marion the Librarian in there that I'd love to see you do.
Oh my God, really?
Oh yeah. After hearing that, it was like, let's see it.
I did that show, but I wasn't that. Who did I play? I played one of those ladies. I don't know.
Dancing Shapoopy or something?
Yep. I played, I forget which one I played, but one of the three gossipy ladies.
Pickle.
One of those ladies. But yeah, I would love to. I really would like to do something more legit, I just don't get to do it a lot. But I also think I'd be great in playing Caroline in Carolina Change. I don't know what role I am right for. I expect there to be many, and I just want to do, just want to be able to be myself, but also challenge myself to sort of come outside of that box, if that makes any sense.
All right. Well, let's see you do your Marion.
Okay. I can't do it now, but that song. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's on the album. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yes.
I was like, all right, let's put her in that.
Oh, that would be nice. You know what? I would love to be like and even like in Chicago, like a full-figured Roxy or a full-figured
Oh,
Marion. That would be fabulous. Why not? Let's do it.
hired. Any other questions we got?
Can we make that happen? That both Chicago and
Yes. Why not? Let's do it.
with NaTasha I'm in. I'm in. So a couple going back to Michigan, do you happen to know if it's easier now for Black people and persons of color at Michigan? And is that undergrad group that you talked about, do you know if that's still around?
You know what? Because when we were approaching when this date was coming, I kept saying, "Oh, I need to call MSU and find out if a window." I don't know if I knew that question was coming, but I wanted to say I did not call and I did not find out if they're still there. It was called Mwendo, which was movement in Swahili. That's what it meant. But I was going to call and check and see if they're there.
I was going to say, how do you
still there.
spell it? Because I know one of the instructors. Actually, I know a couple who are there still.
I imagine that will soon be easier everywhere for people of color. I don't know that prior to now they probably made any changes because they didn't have to. I think the climate now is such that theaters everywhere, schools everywhere, every business probably is making some changes, taking a hard look if they want to survive. This is not just about appeasing a group of people, but it is about a movement of people that have said, wow, all of this is going on. Now, Black and white people, different colors. I can't name everybody's color, but you know what I'm saying? People everywhere of every race and creed say this is happening and this is unacceptable. So I think eventually, and certainly there's a window open now for it to be a little easier, but I would probably guess that not much had changed before 2020 in a lot of places, and I'm sure Michigan State had probably not addressed anything because a lot of it is just ignorance of how you run things. I mean, you have something as simple as just hiring people you know. If you are a white male that's in charge and you're just hiring people you know, you probably hang out with people who look like you. So that means you're calling people who look like you, or you're calling their children if they can afford to be in your particular group. So it's not even necessarily always a racial thing. It's just proximity and it's just what you understand and what's familiar to you. But that's inherently, it can be inherently racist because access is denied to people for a lot of different reasons. So
I've been in business now enough years that it happens in
yeah.
all walks of life, all businesses. That's how it plays out.
Yeah.
And unless you consciously make the choice that we need to actually oppose this, remember, because it's going to cause problems, acknowledge it and actively make changes, it will just continue on as is. And so, well, we hope we can be a part of that change. Oh, someone says they'd like to see you do Audrey in Little Shop, by the way.
Oh,
You ready for that?
I would like that. I played a Ronette once when I was 16 at the Cape Fear Regional Theater in Fayetteville. That would be fun. That would really be fun.
Adorable. Anything else in there you got, Sarah?
Oh, I got more. Oh,
you can keep them coming. Okay, I'll just stick to the audience questions. These are better.
Okay. I would also just like to say regarding kind of the systemic racism that we have been facing, we've figured out that asking is truly reaching out and saying, please come to us has helped change who we are and how we are addressing some of the issue.
Let me add to that too. I want to because like asking that's great and it's got to happen that way. Being active, like you said, actively seeking to be part of the solution. Even like people with internships and mentorships and a lot of times you like have these positions in your companies and some of them are paid and some of them are not paid, but like people who can't afford to come and work for a lower, it's just everything. It's across the board and it's about asking, Sarah. So I'm just saying all that to agree with you. So let's keep asking and keep providing a way for everyone to have access to openings in different positions. So it would be great.
Yeah, we aim to be on the right path, or at least that's the goal. So Katharine has a question. As a middle-aged woman just starting out, what advice would you give me?
Oh, wow. Okay. Middle-aged woman just don't know what advice we do. I think I'd give the advice to everyone. The same advice in terms of if you eat, sleep, drink, just move in performing or art or medicine or whatever your area is, then you have to pursue it with everything you have. You have to spend time depositing into yourself, meaning wherever you live, get involved in that local space, whether it's a local theater or a regional theater or creating your own performance outlets. A lot of times now, especially with this Zoom and virtual world, we can do that. But my advice would be to submerge yourself in the performance aspect or whatever your area is so that you can breathe and it comes out, as opposed to it being working to make it come out, so that when you have the opportunity to audition or to perform, that you stand out, that you are the best at whatever it is you do. Whatever your age is, there's always a place for you, but you have to be more than average. And so working on yourself and your strengths and your talents and all those things that you have to offer so that they shine the brightest when presented is what we have to reach for. And then you can move to other areas or do whatever you want to do. But just working on self, getting your mental health right, understanding what your particular strength is. And a lot of times as middle-aged people, we've had more time to figure out who we are. So that's a good thing. So celebrate those things and present them in the best possible light.
Good words of advice.
Yay!
Do your kids believe that when you tell them these kind of words of wisdom? They listen to mama?
You know what? The people have changed. So, and young people are so fearless and so different than I was raised to just be sort of not submissive, but certainly respectful and take what you're given and just do the best you can and all that kind of stuff. People don't have that same kind of mantras and beliefs now, which is part of the reason why this change is happening now, is because young people are just like, no, what? No.
Doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
So
that's a talk I have with my kids, right? They're like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, yes, we know.
They love that. They love that. This doesn't make any sense. My son says that all the time too. I was like, you don't even have any sense. What are you talking about? But yeah, they're like, this doesn't make any sense. But they just have a different way. So I think they would hear it, but I do have to figure out how to say it differently sometimes. Whether they listen to it, but my point is, if you can do anything else, do it. Whether you're middle-aged or 25, do it. It's too difficult. But if it is inbred in you, if you are called to do this, then by all means, grab a hold and chase it with everything you have. But like I said, if you can, I can, there's several things I can do, but I wouldn't be happy doing those things. Therefore, I wouldn't be a productive person doing those other things, and I wouldn't be a productive partner. I wouldn't be a nice person to be around or be, nobody want to be around me. I'd be unhappy. Yeah.
Follow your bliss.
Hold on. I just need to yell 1 second.
You want to yell? Any other questions, Sarah?
Okay.
Oh, excellent. I love that. I would have liked to have heard that. Wow. I'm going to yell.
No, you know what?
I'm about to scream my head off. 1 second. Yeah, I'm back. It's good. It's all good.
I guess that sounded crazy, didn't it? No, but my computer is going to die. So I had to yell for someone to come in here and bring my charger so that we could continue our conversation.
I see. It's warning you. I see.
Notice that there's a thing. But they didn't get up, I don't think. So you talk about people not listening.
The life of
Okay.
parenting on Zoom.
And mine,
Okay,
I
I'm
love
live.
it. I love it.
Let's be nice and respectful. Can you plug my computer up, please? Oh,
Oh, that's so much
oh,
work.
thank you
How
so
kind.
much.
Isn't it nice to have helpers?
It is. They're great. Stop, Niall. Are you okay? I'm sorry. So sorry.
Like we were talking about beforehand,
Careful,
right?
careful.
This is all part of it, right?
Yeah, sorry. Ooh, that's it's a third act over there. Okay. Oh,
Wow.
they're performers.
They're performers too.
They,
Okay. They're putting on a
apparently they want to
show.
be in part of some show.
They want to put on a show. Well, unless anyone has any other things, I wanted to thank you so much. This was just such a delightful evening. And
Yay!
I'm just so happy that you were able to spend it with us and share your wise experiences you've had and tell us all about them. And we love to hear them. So
Thank you so much.
thank you for your generosity. I hope one day, we'd love to hear you sing someday, but it sounds like you're about to get real busy.
Well, I don't know. I'll be busy for 4 weeks, so, and then who knows what happens after that. It's like, feast or famine. You know what it is. Like, you're working or you're not.
Yeah, you are or you aren't. That's right. Isn't that the truth?
Yes, that's true of everybody. That's why you have to really want to do this too.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. The more you put in, the more you get out.
That's it.
Thank you once again, NaTasha. Thank you everyone for listening in tonight. Again, subscribe to the eStudio and you'll hear more great programs like this and get to talk to talented, wonderful people and hear their stories. So thank you. And have a great night. Thank you for staying up so late with us.
All right. No, it's fine. Good night. These kids
Good
are
night to you.
up. What can I do? Good night. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
And thank you all for joining us tonight. Thanks a lot, everyone. Good night.
Good night.